Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing some more Orzhov Skeletons. I've had a very positive win rate and I talk about it quite a bit in the outro. Other than that, I'm kind of just going to hop right into the games. We kind of talk about it a bit on this channel. If you're new and you don't maybe know, a very quick overview of it is we play a lot of cards that are either skeletons or make skeletons, and it revolves around Corpse of the Lost, which gives all skeletons a +1/+0 in the haste, but also makes a 2/2 if a permanent we control leaves the battlefield on our turn or goes to the graveyard. We get to put this back in our hand on our end step and replay it later, making more creatures, giving more haste, and all that kind of good stuff. Other than that, we have a very good supporting cast with other enchantments, with the Scavenger being able to put a lot of 1/1 counters on things with all these enchantments entering the battlefield, and we use United Battlefront as a top-end card where we get to look 6 deep and then grab 2 kind of non-creature, non-land permanents, and then put them on the battlefield if they are mana value 3 or less, which our entire deck is, other than obviously United Battlefront, which couldn't grab itself anyway. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into games. This is to kind of push on the last day or two to maybe hit Mythic. Not really being all that serious about it. Like, we are, but we're not being crazy about it. It's not like if I hit Mythic, it makes or breaks my mood for the day. So with that, let's go ahead and see if we can do it. My opponent's first. I mean, we're a land away, right? So we keep land away from putting a lot of pressure on anyway. Probably going to go Forsaken into Tiny Bones in case, like, they remove this and Seam Rip becomes a good card. I only play 2 and we have them both, and it looks like maybe a matchup it's not going to be good in, which sucks, but Esper, I would assume mill then. Typically what this ends up being most of the time. See if a removal piece comes in or not. No. Yeah, blue, white, so a counter spell is available obviously, but we're just going to jam the best spell. They no more lies this, they no more lies this, and it just is what it is. Thankfully against like the board wipe deck, Corpse is good. If they remove this one, it's actually bad because that gives us a tutor, and then that allows us to go get a swamp. Okay. They did it on end step, so this doesn't actually get solved, so it's like okay, I guess. But with double activation here on a tap out, we go 3 to 4. We could arguably shelter by ghost, but I think my plan, if I would have ripped a land, but obviously we're going to dig for one now. Best card to put in the graveyard. Need a land. Have to pass. For 4, we're 12 cards deep, looking for that third land. Visa would be a little tough, however, we'd be fine. That kind of counters what we want to do. We find a land. Seam Rip can actually take this out, which is nice, and then I can pop this. Let's try to go to combat here, because we want to pay to bring these back. Okay. They're going to block here. So is it better to do it the opposite way? I'm curious. Are we better at playing this Corpse of the Lost? I think so. Then if we rip a land, like obviously this gains him 1 life, but we have the Seam Rip target, and then we could pay to double bring back maybe. Although I guess the downside to that is when they come back, they will enter tapped. But if we rip the land, we're going to go for Corpse of the Lost instead. Seam Rip here. Yep. They'll gain 2, so they're not fully down here, but there's still 6 power on the board, right? So we'll take that, and then obviously if they get lost this, then we take that as well, right? So they're probably looking to go for the route of play the board wipe that mills me for half, and then try to establish the one card. Best case for them here now is to establish that card and then board wipe me so it's online on a later turn. But hopefully I can throw it under a seam rip if they do that. Having one of the two or both of them would be nice. They only have blue-black available, so if they found another authority, it's not going to be able to be played. I think they're realizing that now after they grabbed their pile. Maybe wasn't paying attention. Yep. Here's the monument. So we don't want to put it under a shelter. That would be a massive mistake by us. And the reason for that is because their plans to board wipe us anyway, and then this will go back into play under their control. So thankfully, we can do this in a bit better of a way here. Let's go grab a land. We can grab anything. We're just going to grab a Verge here. So we're kind of able to keep pushing our advantage. Take that. And play a Tiny Bones here. Then we hit for a bit. Decline, of course. We have another one in hand, so we're just going to decline that. Obviously, a board wipe's probably coming here. Of course, Get Lost is available for this. Tiny Bones is actually interesting. If the option is available, we're probably going to Tiny Bones, hit them, grab the flanker back, and maybe... Oh, actually, I only have 2 cards in my graveyard. Why would I even bother? Because unless they board wipe me, they don't really have a lot going on for them. One white mana. Can I win here? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Should be able to. So we go here. They could have a smite. The 1-drop that does like 3 damage to an attacking creature. So obviously we're kind of playing around that. But this should get it done. We just wanted to play this first to optimize putting a counter somewhere else just in case they have that card. But I believe with 4 creatures, so we'd put a counter here, so we'd go to 3, and then with this, they would all go to 4. They remove 1. I have 3 hitting for 4. Well, this started, yeah. So I have 3 hitting for 4 for 12, no matter what they do. So we have it covered either way. So very cool. We get a win there, and then we'll just kind of do this in a long form way, I guess. Just kind of keep queuing up, see how it goes. Had a lot of success with this deck overall. You know, Mythic Mike was definitely right with it. So this is one of those things where it's just kind of a consistent aggro deck that when you're on to play, you feel really confident. If you do have that 1, 2, 3 drop, feels no different than whenever like you're playing mono red or something like that, whenever it's kind of at its peak power. And it's also awkward the way the cards work. Like right here, 1, 2, and 3, and we're on to play. So kind of getting exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to go ahead and shock this in, because we'd have to use 2 life to probably do this anyway, then shock, which would cost more life. So we'll wait on the passage. We'll always shock it in at the end if we need to. So scavenger down, case come in, corpse come in. And then hopefully after everything I just said, I don't get entirely punished for the entire opposite. Orzhov. Not Orzhov, it's the Allies deck. So this is going to be a hard matchup. If there was a matchup I had to think about that would be tough, it'd be this one. They go pretty wide. We don't have massive like board state removal. We do have like Shelter by Ghost that can get good. Like this card will end up finding value pretty well. A little too many lands. Drawing another one there is pretty brutal after having 4 in the opener. I can't imagine they block. If they block, I would say that means their hand's pretty bad or loaded. It's one or the other. Their hand's either really bad or really loaded. But they take it. Maybe just wasn't there, to be honest. All that could be voided. A shock again. It's going to deal a little bit of damage to me, yeah. That has vigilance, and I can't block. So, an interesting pile so far. Dude, I just keep drawing lands. I mean, if there's a situation where we lose it, this would be the way it happens for sure. I'll take 2. Why do they have priority here? It just resolves. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose. Like, it's this. That's holding priority. Okay. Rower Scavenger. Might end up just losing this off the pure fact that we just don't have enough, like, cards. Like a Shelter here would have been so good, right? I just all in here. I feel like if I slow down, I'm in a lot, like, kind of a bad spot. I guess I don't mind if this goes, because then I could tutor for like a card that matters. They're just gonna throw a double block in front of it, or they just take it because they don't want me to tutor, which would kind of make sense. Does have menace, but first strike will remove it. So we automatically lose here if we rip another land and don't have this capability to tutor, right? This is only being held back to basically block this. And if they swing this, then I think that's a mistake, and we'll just take it. Nowhere to run, the card that we would love to find, just so we can pick us up cleanly and then tutor, right? Or we find kind of the 4-drop that goes and grabs a couple things, and we tutor for the nowhere to run, and then kind of guarantee some removal. This is legendary, so kind of nice that way. Obviously, they can swing it. 2 mana down to 11, but they've done 4 to themselves, so we really have only done 5 here. Yeah. No land, maybe? Having polar opposite games here. Again, I think this is a mistake. But, like, are you going to trade your other stuff? Oh, we actually find the card. Huge. And we get to tutor for our good card. So, yeah, we're going to have to take 1 here regardless, I think, which sucks. I am on the attack out plan and just see what they do here. This is 6 damage. We have a way to pick something off. They miss a land. Indestructible doesn't actually beat nowhere to run. Putting a creature to negative toughness does not stop you. We'll take the hit, and then we'll pop this. Then I feel like the plan's just to wait, right? We could go for a Corpse of the Lost. We could go for a Shelter by Ghost, which might even be better, because then we just gain a lot of life. And they're missing a land. Shelter after would clear the way. I think it's actually to go for Shelter by Ghost here. And they only have 2 lands. Is this just indestructible? Yes, we're just going to wait here. Am I able to take 1 here to do this? I think so. So in theory, I'm at 10 right now. And there's not a whole lot to change that. Again, Indestructible does not get around this. Hexproof doesn't get around this. Ward doesn't get around this. So, no matter what they do, we have a chance to pick something off here. Just like draws. So we're going to go and pick this off here. Oh, I guess technically we're at 9. We don't want them to gain life here when they're at 6. We don't want them to draw a card. This makes a creature. Makes 2. So nowhere to run is going to happen. Best case scenario is our opponent punts. And they try to sack this to protect there. Because again, the Indestructible does not stop a creature from dying from going to negative toughness. Oh, please. Nice. If you're curious why that doesn't work, I actually explained this at my local shop the other day, which is kind of crazy that it came up here. The opponent messed it up as well. But the reason it doesn't work is because the creature will identify itself as having less. It'll identify itself having 0 or -1 toughness there. So it actually sacrifices itself. I swear, I thought I just gave that thing a counter. But it'll actually sacrifice itself. So it's pretty nice that it works that way. There's probably a rule somewhere that can be quoted. But we're just going to put everything on this life gainer here. We're in. But yeah, so if that did damage, they would go to -1. But it technically still has 3 toughness. But it has 3 damage on it, right? Or it had 2 toughness. But it would be a 2 toughness creature with 3 damage if that did 3 damage. But because we set its toughness under, a thing with 0 or less toughness just sacrifices itself, so it's good, right? But we're off. We're doing well. My webcam is getting blurry for some reason. I think I put my hand too close. So we're going to queue up, and I'm going to fix my webcam on the fly with the homies, you know? Maybe. Where did the window go? Hello? There it is. Every time I reset my PC or it goes... power goes off or something, the webcam goes back to default settings, and sometimes it's fine, sometimes I don't have to touch it at all, but the depth of field and the like lighting changes all the time, so sometimes I lock it even though it might look a little worse overall. It's just where it's at. But on the play we have 1, 2, and 3. This is kind of what we were talking about before. This is when we have by far the best opportunity to win. This is where we want to be sitting at like a 70% win rate. Especially when our opponent does nothing on turn 1. And what seems to be probably a Badger Mole deck. But we're going to go... Okay, so we can go one of 2 ways. So since Corpse of the Lost is going to give everything haste anyway, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and play this Plains, go Scavenger here, and set them back 1 turn. Pop that, put a counter on our token, then hit them for 6 here, and then this will have double strike, and then we'll play a corpse, and then we'll be swinging for lethal. Badger Mole Cub, 2 blockers, but they'll have to block. That's the only problem. They might play another creature here, but again, they're going to have to block, which is what we need. We want this to kind of be spread out, actually. Right? I'm gonna go to 3. But I don't want them to be able to trade this. I mean, I guess we have to threaten lethal on a creature, right? Three. Scavenger is going to go up. We want everything to be able to trade, though. And I'm going to go for Soulstone Sanctuary just in case it can be tapped. And then we're attacking out. So it's probably a block here. And then they technically could leave Badger Mole Cub. And they would go to... They would have 4 mana, play land, have 5 mana. I'm having a blast, thank you. But then they would have 5 mana. So most likely this is just jumping in front of here. They could sacrifice Badger Mole Cub if they have another one. Because it's like positive to leave your Dork in. Because this does untap, but they go like block here, and then they obviously negate all that, and then they probably take 6, 7, 8 and go to 4 and just hope they can get through it. But we're gonna pick this back up and replay it, making another creature going really wide and getting in for more. So I think we had that covered regardless. But those are the things, right? Like we can always lose those games, especially against like a control deck that might come out and do like authority, a get lost on a creature, and then, you know, like have a 3 mana, 4 mana board wipe, and then we hit a land or 2 and stall out. And because against control, like even if we hit a land or 2 and then only draw spells, oftentimes it's still too late because the point of aggro is you have to get underneath them quick enough. Here we're on the play a hand that's good enough, I think, so we'll keep. We don't have a 1-drop, but we are in the play, so we get to our 2-drop, our 3-drop, and then maybe a 4-drop. Other than that, that means we're drawing other spells, right? So we need a land, and if we miss the land, then we're finding other stuff to go well with our Corpse of the Lost and our case. As, like, for example, another Corpse of the Lost. I think they mauled, right? Yeah. Black, enter, good to go. I don't necessarily need to shock this in, so I might play a Soulstone Sanctuary. Because if I don't have... Well, I'm probably playing it on 3 anyway, right? Yeah, we're probably just playing this. Because if I rip 2 lands, realistically, one of them will enter tapped on turn 4. So, we're probably okay to shock this in and play the case. Even though maybe we don't have to. I guess it just depends what lands we draw. If I draw a multicolored land, I'm obviously going to prioritize playing that. But they hit the timer. Don't know why. Like, they're here. Rabbits. Does that change what we want to do? I could put this on white and play a Tiny Bones. And then I can play land, nowhere to run, hit them with Tiny Bones. Yeah, I like that play. Might just have to win by playing their stuff. And then if it's something like a Shelter by Ghost, we just nowhere to run it. And we still get the same kind of result at the end of the day. Up to it's obviously pretty bad. Another one of those is okay. No. Okay. We're gonna have to play this a weird way. Here. We have to get rid of their counter producer. This is why we play Tiny Bones, right? This is a bit weird not to like play Corpse and attack, but we know how vicious rabbits can get. They can get really wide really fast. They play one Lord, you're in a lot of trouble. Our opponent seems to be a bit distracted. Seems like they're probably blocking here. That's what that told me. And if that's the case, we get 2 creatures off board. We have another nowhere to run. We can kind of just keep playing the game this way, unfortunately. Looks like we have to pick off the quest color, though. We missed the land. Kind of sucks that we don't have another black. Miss a land drop. Our entire game plan is kind of evolved here. See what they go for. They found a land. Now we're just gonna have to play the trade game. Unfortunately. We really need a land here because we really need to do a battlefront to get ahead when we get the chance. We find it, which is nice. Can't block, also can't block. People don't know, but I'm going to shock just to keep playing stuff out here. But again, if we could turn the tables on a random turn, then I would gladly do so. Just can't block anyway. I'm not going to try to see if my opponent doesn't know that. As a big giant I can't block symbol. So unless they're playing on their phone or something. They'll know. Again, a Shelter here blows us out. Maybe I went too passive this game. I have a bad tendency to do that. It's kind of one of those things where I play control a lot. So I tend to do weird stuff like that. So down the 1, 2. That's all we got. Shelter works here. Most helpful also kind of works here. Remember, we don't have to target here. The target works because of the nowhere to run. We don't have to pay the ward here. But we have to do this, right? So creature can't block, so it's just going to attack regardless. There's 4. Go up to 6. They don't have enough on board as is. Well, that might be enough later. But we definitely take that, right? Scavenger. Here. Here. I could obviously grow the other creature. This can't block either, right? So it has menace. Double blocking here. Interesting. Oh, we do not want it to do it that way. Because we need the recruit to be removed. Because remember here, if recruit goes away, this guy gets smaller, right? So right now, we want to guarantee this goes away. I think this is best case. All damage happens first, and then the creature would come back. Why not just split it 3 and 3? Got action. Crawling back. Trying our best anyway to crawl back. And give our tapped creature the one with menace here the extra counter and a double strike here, but it'll be a little bit tough. Shelter again. Brutal. That's a 2 damage window they get back. Another land here. Can't block, so we do have to remember that. Play corpse. 6, 7, 8, 9. Could gamble here and go for it. So 2. If they play a hop 2 it, am I dead? This goes to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would take 1. I'd be exactly dead. So we just attack here. But is that just playing too weak? No, I don't think so. You think we have to pick this back up? If we hit a land, we could play this and then also bring this up. Even though it'll be tapped. If they play a 3rd shelter, then yeah, they got it, right? Raise the past in our... Okay. I mean, we can't beat that. That's a bad card to be playing. Like, there's no way that they should be playing that. But sure, I guess. I don't know. Just seems like a weird bullet card. I mean, it's probably what it is. It's probably like a 1 or a 2 of, I would assume. It beat me, so who knows? Maybe it's the better card to be playing. I don't know. I felt like we crawled out of that. The second Shelter by Ghost was pretty back-breaking, but, you know, it is what it is. We'll just keep moving on. If you asked me to put the Raise the Past in that deck, I don't think I ever would. Like, I don't think I would ever predict that it's in that deck, I guess. A weird one is our black mana is going to deal like 3 damage to us, probably. Because obviously we're on the play, so we're going to start off by just jamming. Teller of Tales. Weird part is with Shelter, I don't really even want to put it on this. Feels kind of like a bad play. Just because it doesn't gain much life, right? It would only be gaining 2. Here it'd gain 3, which would give it a little bit more credibility plus menace. Yeah. Get to play against our favorite heroes of all time. Mr. Blue-Red World Championship player deck builder, you know? It is what it is. A lot of our creatures have 1 toughness, and that sucks, but, you know, what are we going to do? I feel like they're playing this wrong. Yeah. Sure. They haven't played anything else. This is already solved. I think I'm going to go grab a land here. Sucks, but I just think that's where I'm at. Another one. It'll quench you, maybe. Probably won't be here for very long. If I wasn't doing a long form video like this, I probably would have already conceded and moved on. Like, look how insane it is. Now they'll just play an artist talent, and then it'll never be close. 1 to remove 2 creatures. This one and this one. Like, it just is what it is. Or they'll cast 2 mana, draw 3. Yeah, I mean, the game's over. Just like that. The game's over. Oh, man, that deck's so annoying. Well, at least I didn't lose a point. Even Arena apparently knows it's annoying as hell. But whatever, I guess. That's the only deck that, like, actually gets my blood boiling. Like, I actually immediately get upset about playing it. Just because I don't even think it's necessarily it. It's just so over blue-red being the best. It's the same reason I don't like Pioneer. I'm just over blue-red just being the best color combination, and because you're not playing it, you're an idiot kind of thing. You know, it's kind of how it feels. But we'll see. We will see. All right, mono red. This is actually really good for us. So I want to do this a bit backwards because I know Shelter by Ghost is really solid, but I'm going to play around Nowhere to Run here. And the reason why is because I want to play the Scavenger, then play Shelter by Ghost, and put extra counters on this guy so it can't just get shot by a Burst Lightning afterward. Sure. Both are 2, but one is way more impactful than the other if I do lose my creature. So we'll take 2 here. We'll Shelter by Ghost it. But what I'm saying is, typically when you get to Shelter by Ghost this card, oftentimes you actually get punished because your opponent will then just Burst Lightning this or do anything for 1 mana. Just get it off the board because obviously it's way more important to get that off the board than to let it live. But now that it's at 3, it's a lot more protected. It might even get to the point that we Shelter it twice because then that's Ward 4 and then they'll have no answer to that. And then it'll also grow larger there too. So, sure. Well, oh, definitely here. Definitely here we were doing it. Steam Rip. Take out the Needlehead because obviously they're going to have no way to deal with this. Put this on our life gainer here. And I'm just putting Ward 1,000,000 on this guy. I know this is a bit of an overload, but Red's not going to be playing anything that makes me sacrifice anything anytime soon. Now we're in, gaining 7. We're all the way up to 26. And honestly, it's kind of one of the best parts about this deck is we just have such advantage against mono red. My 7/5 has to be blocked. Here. Play here. Keep going. Again. Here. Here to gain as much life as possible. Do as much as I can. Having a good matchup against kind of like your counterpart, right? Like, what's the difference between playing this and just playing mono red if you're going to be playing kind of the off-meta aggro deck? I think that's a good example of one where we just get to kind of on the play, be really aggressive, use that Shelter by Ghost effectively. There, I think we played it right with how we kind of used Nowhere to Run, remove a thing, their mana down, so we know our Shelter by Ghost is good along with our 1-drop. Oftentimes, if we play the 1-drop, it'll get hit with the spell. Because Red will take the opportunity to remove that because they know how good it is at growing a creature out of their range. Which was literally what we did, so... yeah, so opponents first. When the opponents first, you kind of don't have a choice, especially with something like this. We're going to jam this, then go for case maybe, go for Shelter after, and then have that Battlefront ready. Maybe. Obviously. Corpse of the Lost would be a great card to draw in between here and there. 1 land will also be okay, obviously be acceptable. But opponents in the tank, it seems. We'll keep... Yes. Land is fine. We have quite a bit of 2-drops, so playing this on turn 3 with all these 2-drops is fine. We really want this on white in case we're looking to shelter, obviously. I really want to get these lands. I actually like them a lot. I've gotten them in... I have them in paper. And they're really sweet. It kind of reminds me... Oh, the animation doesn't happen again. Okay. It kind of reminds me of... like the Judge promos, because this little symbol here, the little chocobo symbol here, reminds me of the owl that you get. So white, pay 2, that has vigilance. Do I know where to run here after they target? I think so. You can see if they block. Obviously, we'll take the block. Then we'll just pick off the other one with the nowhere to run, right? So they don't block, sure. Our creature can't block, so. This works out really well for us because Shelter by Ghost targeting a token, if they even remove my creature, they get nothing back. So obviously we're pretty happy with that. I don't think they'll have anything to protect it here. That's why we want to do it with the counter on the stack, because if they have a thing that gives +2 to their toughness, then obviously we lose out there with our nowhere to run. Then we are looking to play a Swamp tapped, probably going for Shelter by Ghost on the miner, taking out the token, and then looking to United Battlefront on the following turn. Here. Well, that auto-resolved, so I don't know what the priority hold is. Watching it happen. Maybe they have a Sun current, the Flash 2-1, Seam Rip, sure. Okay. Interesting. What's the answer if I Shelter by Ghost your Seam Rip? Okay. Whenever an enchantment you control enters scry 1, this creature gets 1/0 for each enchantment you control. Okay. We play the Swamp tapped. It's weird because I really don't want to take this, but I don't want them with their enchantment based stack. So I want the not have to pay online, right? I take this. This could probably get pretty large. But again, I want the, like, I mean, I guess nowhere to run doesn't really have that clause. But double strike matters quite a bit when it comes to the opposite. Maybe they block, but I doubt it. We're at 17. Ethereal Armor would be good. This is gone. So Ethereal Armor is a little less devastating, I guess, is a word we can use. Obviously, we're looking to Shocking Godless Shrine and go for the Battlefront here. And Shelter, target Shelter, and then do that whole thing. What they'll end up taking here, I have no idea. Ethereal Armor would be really bad now because this would go up to 1, 2, 3. So it'd be 10 and lifelink. But they're about out of cards. And we're about to play one of our best cards. Hopefully. Obviously, I've had it fail before. So they take the Shelter. Seam Rip enter. What is Seam Rip targeting? Nowhere to run again. Weird. Like, I feel like it just makes your creature vulnerable, right? Because if you just lose it, again, like I just did, then it just picks off your other creature, right? But an Ethereal Armor makes this large and would give it enough toughness that it would get through it. But who knows? What do you got for me, boss? You left on top with one of the scries, and we're just still here? I don't know. This is why, honestly, sometimes it's so hard to climb. You just get things like this. Like, they scried once and they left it on top. And now we're scrying again to leave it on top. And we're holding priority for some reason. But, as you notice, they've also not earned a timeout. You can see them right here because of, like, kind of the play. But your Ethereal Armor on there. Like, If you want to hand me your deck, I can play it for you. Yeah, you would like to hit me for 10 and gain 10 life. Yeah, I would agree. That seems like a good plan. Well, with all these lands, we got to just kind of hope here. Okay, so that actually works the way I want. Because Nowhere to Run will be in play when that happens. So we want Nowhere and Shelter. Then, honestly, I really don't even want anything under this Shelter by Ghost. Nowhere, so Shelter... I guess we can just put the Seam Rip under. Because this will go away regardless, right? Yeah, I guess it just lost the toughness anyway. Now we hit for 4. The real problem is, obviously, I wanted the Corpse of the Lost, so I can actually put more things out, but I think with kind of where we're at in this game right now, this might just be good enough. Don't worry, I have a lot of lands, though. There were 4 cards to hit in there, though, so we do have to kind of remember that. But Seam Rip here doesn't really bother us too much based on what we have on the board. We have a lot of catching up to do for the 10 life that they gained. Oh, great draw if I'm going to draw something. Play is tapped. Not bad. We're slowly working our way back through this game. Now swung the life total. 17-11. 2 cards. Lands were hit, and it looks like a pass here. All 4? Don't really have anything. It's like a... going to affect us if we draw a discard. And this is only opponent, right? Yeah. We can't really get rid of this if we wanted to. We just win the weird bowl. Where this is honestly probably weirdly enough one of the more exciting games. Where it was like really heavy our favor, really heavy their favor. And then we hit pretty well and it went very drastically back in our favor. And at any point, obviously, the other thing can come true. But Get Lost actually cannot remove the Forsaken Miner right now. But technically it could, right? So they could Get Lost to Shelter by Ghost that's actually holding our Seam Rip underneath here. And they wouldn't have to pay any ward. Seam Rip would enter. The Shelter by Ghost would fall off. Seam Rip would be able to target and then pay the 2 ward to get this creature off the battlefield. And then they would just have to figure out this one over 2 more turns. So if they have something like that, definitely it's there. Like the option to get through this is there. But if their option has a creature in play, it's just over. But I really think this is a timeout situation where our opponent's just going to leave because they lost a game that they were probably realistically favored to win until we battlefronted. Especially with how many lands we have in play, you would assume that this game was just heavily over. We have 1 card in our graveyard. But it's not been as bad as it seems. 2 of these bottom 4 were non-lands. Actually, another one could have been a creature. I wasn't even paying attention. We had 4 hits at least. So, realistically, it's still pretty heavy our favor there. Combat. Going for lethal. Could have battlefronted and went for like more value, but I think just getting this game over with and moving on is probably the way to go. So 4 more games. I feel like with kind of the time frame of this video, I'm probably going to split it up into 2, unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll see if I can win this 1 more game here and then just try to like knock it out. But with the loss here and then it requiring 5 games, that's probably another hour like kicking in there, because you assume if I win 2 games and lose 1, it's gonna at 5 games, you know, it's gonna take like 7 to get through. No black mana, but kind of white hand, other than obviously kind of the best card in our deck. This is a hand I can get punished on, but we'll try it. The only reason I really kept is because if we rip a land, obviously our hand's nuts, especially if it's a black land. If we do rip a land and it's not necessarily black, we can United Battlefront and maybe get away with it. We get to go here and then have a Shelter by Ghost against maybe a matchup where it matters a lot. And like that, we're the best. I'm joking, of course, but joking, not joking. Huh. What would they have for 1 mana that gets rid of this? But we also got the combat. What? Bab? There it is. It took me a second to get there, but I got there. Oh, Deep Cavern bat me, brother. Best take is Corpse of the Lost, and it's not close, I think. This card you'll just have to try to beat. Not a whole lot you can do about it. Most helpful Weaver. You probably block Deep Cavern bat. Actually, probably not, because this is going to be 3 double striking here, if it lives. But this is, I would assume, Golgari Dragons, the deck that came around for a little while. Tap land off their Fable. We're going to have the Ice Tail and stuff. What are you going to take here? Conventional says you take the Battlefront, but the Shelter automatically gets that back. And you can just kind of hope the Battlefront misses. Like, I know that doesn't seem like a great plan, but sometimes it's just a plan you have to have, right? We could get our corpse back, but I think I have too much value here not to go for that instead. The double striking 3-2. That we're going to answer both these anyway, right? Holy cow. All right. All right. Everybody back up. Everybody back up. Do I just answer both? Because I get so many good cards back, right? But a corpse is so good here, and I get to put it back in my hand. I feel like that's way better. And I think I just want to answer the Deep Cavern bat. I don't think I actually want the option of Shelter by Ghost to blow me out. Yeah, let's take care of this one. So I have a way to get it back. And we're going to pick this back up. And here I have a way to jam this and Shelter getting another one back. They don't know about this land, of course. They could play the 1 dragon. It'll deal -2 to things. But then I just have corpses to just keep jamming and going over and over again with. But again, a double striking off the Weaver is going to be pretty hard to beat. But we'll see if they do it. 2. Probably targeting my face? This is any target, right? It is indeed any target. So here, it'll be 3 on this regardless. It's just whether or not what I want to Shelter by Ghost. Here. I get rid of the big life linker, because that'll also enter the battlefield and do nothing. But now they have to block here because it's 8 and we have like a lethal strike happening. Take or not take here? I think we take it, because if we rip another land, playing both of these is a way to win. I feel like the dragon's going to board wipe me. It's coming. No. Maybe I had them all wrong. I can go up to 3 here. It technically should wait to use it as a combat trick. Plus, they're going to draw here, right? So, I guess it doesn't matter. But I think they already played a land, right? I mean, yeah, we're so wide here. But, I mean, I guess go until we lose, I suppose. Maybe we'll hit 3 more wins in a row and we can call it a day. And then break the deck list down. But so far, I've liked the subtle change to put the 1 drop in the tiny bones. Because it's just nice. Sometimes in these lists, I also play the 2 drop enchantment that makes your opponent discard. But I feel like the meta having pretty good graveyard decks, that card actually falls in a really bad spot. Here's an interesting one. We play Scavenger on 1, shock this in for black, play Nowhere, play a Corpse, have a 3/3 and a 3/2 attacking. This is definitely a all out, all the way, all in, no hesitation kind of hand. Really, obviously we can stagger kind of how we play the Nowhere to Run. Obviously playing it onto a try board would do us no good, but we're keeping. We also have best card in our deck by 2. It's a little weird because you can argue that United Battlefront's our best card in our deck just generically, but it's like the best card in our deck when we hit a Corpse of the Lost. But hey, here's the graveyard deck. And is anybody surprised that the first time they milled, they put a bringer in? I swear it's every time, which obviously sucks. Here, I think Nowhere to Running that doesn't do me any good, so I'm just going to play the Case. Just so I have more creatures attacking more aggressively. And then we'll save this for something like a... one of the 3-drops that they play, like the Flyer sometimes. Although, I'm going to be honest, I'm not doing anything around it. I think they just have it. I think this is epitome of graveyard go first, graveyard go burr. The game's just over, but we'll see. On the play, obviously, we can get there quick enough sometimes, especially if there's an all-out block here. Here. Klein. We have another one. We want our creatures hitting for as big as they can. But again, if they bringer me here, it's just over. Yeah, I'm moving on. Okay, so here we are. I know we're on Untapped. I did cut the last game. It was blue-red. Blue-red lessons. I just conceded and moved on. I just didn't care. I just don't. But with that said, we have a very good win rate, as you can see. And basically what I was saying throughout the entire video is on the play, we want to be as close to 70% win rate as we can, even though that's pretty outlandish. Like, but this the best of one thing, right? Where it's like, if we're at 65% win rate on the play, that's still really good. 60% really good because you'll hit Mythic if you do that. Plus, if you're even on the draw, it'll take a while. But the games where we have a 1-drop, 2-drop, and a 3-drop, especially it being like skeleton, Corpse of the Lost, we're gonna want to be at that 70% win rate or as close as we can. But we've made up for that by being a positive win rate deck on the draw as well. So where on the draw, oftentimes we kind of can lack or fall behind because oftentimes on the draw, if you're against another aggro deck, they just get all the pressure first, like we saw in the Rabbits deck, which to be fair, I felt like we won that game outside the fact that they play Raise to Pass, which was a weird card, especially when they kept a 2-lander and missed a land, and it came down to that. But being over 50, pretty much this, we're going to want to be at 50 flat because we really want to be winning every game that we're playing on the play. And if we can 50-50 this, even in a best of 3 series, if you have that kind of win rate, although best of 1 and best of 3 are built different, if you're on the play win rate is at that point 60%, right? So you're really likely to win on the play, especially if they have a bad on the draw win percentage. Where here, if on the draw we're winning more than 50% of the time, that means in a best of 3 series you're heavily favored to win, just because of how it works. But obviously best of 3, you get sideboard cards, and that changes kind of how everything plays. But you can see against decks where we play against a ton, where I'm talking about 3 matches are over. So like here, you would really not want to count because we could have got lucky. They could have missed a land. And these honestly aren't even enough games to really be like, yes, you're doing really well. Outside of maybe this one, playing 10 matches and being 8-2 is kind of telling. Playing against blue-white, being 5-2, blue and white being one of those decks that I'm afraid of. I feel like this is a little bit more on the 50-50 challenge. But if we've been playing them a lot on the play, then it's whatever. That's what's so hard about this is How many of these are on the play? How many are on the draw? Have I played against it enough to really know? Not really. This is still a very low game count. You don't really start counting your games until you start hitting like 100, 200, and then you kind of start to see a pattern. And then once you get to like 3, 4, 500 games, if it's against these mainly, right, then you start to get like, okay, well, I am winning pretty consistently against this deck. It might go a little bit lower overall, but in general, I'm winning. So it's a bit weird when that comes down to it. So let's get off this screen so we can maybe talk about it and break it down. And I can kind of just let you know what cards are the weakest, which are the strongest. One, Corpse of Lost, by far the best card in our deck. It's so good. It gives everything haste, and it's how we can beat those blue-white decks. Our opponent board wipes. We play a Corpse and a one-drop Skeleton, then they have really nothing to do, especially when we get cards like Seam Rips and get value by targeting your opponent's stuff. Being on 2 Seam Rips from the cut down after playing more games has been a very good thing for me, at least. I have felt like this is the correct choice of having only 2. Feel like Shelter by Ghost kind of carries a lot. It does make Scavenger a bit worse here, but I don't know if it makes it so much worse that it matters, right? But the Tiny Bones joins up. Just the threat of being able to steal your opponent's creatures, especially on the lower end, makes them block when maybe they wouldn't want to. We saw that in the Rabbit game where they kind of blocked this, even though they didn't really have to, but the problem was we were going to start playing their creatures, and they just had to figure out what to do with that. So that's great. Obviously, this coming back from the graveyard for free is pretty sweet. I'm curious if Lorwyn will give us any skeletons, even though it's more of a fairy set, or just a card that maybe we can get to play with, you know, United Battlefront. Because you can argue Corpse of the Lost is like a really great skeleton card, but it's from Ixalan, which is more of a dino set, or like vampire-y cavern set. But one of our best skeleton cards came from there. So it's a bit weird, especially like also here, Outlaws, another random card. So if we can find like a 1 or 2 drop skeleton card that works out well, that we can get it in here, we just feel this deck tears up, I think, if we find one more really, really solid card that kind of fits either in these 2 mana slots with these guys, although our 2 mana slots is very good. We'd really like a 1 drop. That would be great. Tiny Bones, as good as it is, Legendary sucks. It's always kind of a 1/1, whereas like this is a 2/2. We don't even care that it can't block, because when it's swinging for 2 and swinging for 3, it's just so much better than the one that's swinging for maybe 2 and not really casting much from your opponent's graveyard, because even the creature decks are going to be blocking it. We don't have enough removal for it. I don't want to put a Shelter by Ghost on this because it's too vulnerable for that. And it's just a lot of things kind of disconnect this, and I don't think there's much in the way. I have too many drinks in the way here. Hold on. I don't know what most people like to have as a snack, but I got some cold cuts today, some Cajun turkey and stuff like that, and some like buffalo chicken for cold cuts. Very good. But as you can see here, like our limitation is very, very low. This is all cards collected, not collected. And I mean, 1/1. This card is here because it removes exile target skeleton, spirit, or zombie, right? So it's just so tough on that front. Case and all that are good. You could argue maybe, hey, you do play this Menace. It is a 3-drop. It is pretty solid, but then it doesn't get hit off our United Battlefront. So we have that kind of weird push and pull. Is this worth playing? And maybe it is. Maybe it is, right? So maybe playing a 3 mana 7 something here. I'm getting a call, which is weird, but maybe playing this is good enough. But other than that, I don't really have much more to say, and that's a work call, so I had to take it. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.